Hello everyone. See, a few people are still filtering in, but as we're on dot, I think we'll make a start. The session is recorded though, so if anyone misses the session, everyone who registered will be sent a recording. But otherwise, I would like to introduce our presenter today, Lynn Aitchison from Evolare Digital. We've worked with Lynn before on various digital projects, and today she'll be helping us present a session on mastering GA4 for arts and culture venues, looking at setup and actionable insights. Just before we get started though, there will be a Q&A at the end of the session, so feel free to pop any questions in on the right hand side in the chat, and we'll get to those towards the end of the session. You can pop them in as and when you kind of think of them, or you can save them until the end. But without further ado, I will invite Lynn onto the stage to start presenting.
Hi everyone.
Hiya.
Let me just quickly share my screen and we can get cracking.
Cool. I will let you get on. I'll jump back on towards the end just to help handle any questions towards the end. Okay. So I'll let you take over.
Is that coming through for everyone? Yeah, I think so. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for joining today's session. As Matt said, my name is Lynn Aitchison and I'm here to demystify GA4 specifically for arts and culture venues, just like you guys. So it's going to be, as Matt said, a practical kind of jargon-free session, hopefully packed with tips that you can take away and apply immediately. So the 30 minutes that we've got will cover everything that you see on the screen here, and then we can do the Q&A at the end. But just to say, if you want to have your own GA4 account open while we go through this, you'll kind of be able to follow along as we go. So quick intro to me and Evolare. So I launched Evolare in January 2024 after spending 7 years in-house and another 6 years leading marketing functions at agencies like After Digital, which actually specialized in this very sector. So I've worked with a really wide range of arts, culture and entertainment organizations over the years, from small independent venues to multinational institutions, some of the more recognizable names you can kind of see on the screen here. So now that's out of the way, we'll get straight into it. So first and foremost, why is GA4 so important, not just to venues, but to any business? So GA4 is a super powerful tool, and it helps you understand how people are engaging with your website and what drives ticket sales. This is crucial for any organization, but it will become your marketing team's best friend if it isn't already. It helps you optimize campaigns that will drive better engagement and boost those all-important ticket sales as well. It also gives you insights into the behavior of the users visiting and will allow you to create much better user experiences for your audience. It's much more nuanced in terms of how it drills down on user behavior than its predecessor, Universal. And it provides you with a much better quality of data, ensuring that you can identify bottlenecks and any blockers in the UX that might cause cart abandonment or checkout abandonment, or even prevent you getting there in the first place. Improving the user experience will have a massive impact on ticket sales, because no matter how good a campaign is, if it is an exceptional performer in driving traffic to your site, if there is a problem with the UX, you're going to have lackluster conversions. Both need to work together. So having that ability to optimize both the sort of driving of traffic and then the experience is key to success. Now that we've got the kind of whys out of the way, we can start looking at the essentials of getting the most out of this platform. So I'll quickly kind of set the scene. GA4 has actually been around since October 2020, and it was initially launched as the sort of app and web property, but it was shortly after renamed GA4, which flows much better off the tongue. And it officially replaced Universal Analytics in July 2023 when it stopped recording data. And Universal officially retired in July 2024 when it was fully deleted from the platform. I'm sure all of you can remember the dark days and the stress around making sure that you had exported all of your data from Universal in a sensible fashion and had GA4 running in enough time before that kind of switch off of data in 2023. But GA4 isn't just a rebrand, it is fundamentally different. The reason for this is it uses an event-based model rather than relying on sessions. So Universal was designed to focus on sessions and page views. GA4 records interactions, and these are called events, which can be anything from clicks, scrolls, video plays, and obviously purchases as well. But the kind of core features of this that sets it apart from its predecessor are that it's designed to be more comprehensive and flexible in tracking customer behavior across different platforms that drive ticket sales. And it is built to adapt to the evolving digital landscape, including privacy concerns and the shift towards privacy-focused tracking methods. This was obviously a hot topic on the kind of build up to the introduction of GDPR when that came into play in May 2018, but it has been a hot topic for many, many years and continues to be so. And it also focused on tracking the user life cycle, so right the way through from acquisition as a first-time user through to retention as well. It isn't just a replacement, I would say it's a major evolution. Going for events-based and privacy-focused sort of models, it is a much more powerful tool. And it's really designed for e-commerce, like to have e-commerce in mind from the get-go, rather than Universal, that was all added in as an afterthought. And obviously the enhanced features cross-platform tracking was a huge problem with Universal, and it's also now got machine learning insights, and it's a much more flexible data model. But I've sort of mentioned tracking purchases a couple of times there, and you may be thinking, but you could do that with Universal, and absolutely, yes, you could, but it was kind of unreliable by comparison to what we have now with GA4, because Universal was obviously designed when requirements from businesses were much more simplistic. But for Universal, you had to add like a kind of script to the confirmation page of your ticketing platform, and this could be quite messy at times, and it wasn't without issues. So GA4, with all of these new features coming into play, gives you a much, much deeper understanding of behaviour and funnels, particularly helpful if you're a venue that track complex booking journeys. So you can't really get anywhere with GA4 without having a proper setup. So whether you're setting up a new GA4 property or you are auditing the one that you already have, proper setup in essence will mean if you have it done properly, you're not going to be putting garbage in to get garbage out. In other words, if you've got bad quality data, you're going to make bad decisions in the end when it comes to operating your venue. So a solid setup ensures you can trust your numbers. Without accurate data, there's a lot of guesswork, and it's a very precarious situation for any venue, well, any business that operates online to be in. So proper setup kind of looks like when you've established a GA4 property that is connected to data streams. So if you've got just your website, it would be web. If you have a website and app, you would have website and app as two separate data streams. And you would have configured all of the data collection settings. And as part of that setup process, you also need to ensure that enhanced measurement has been configured and you've connected to other Google services and third parties where possible. But to audit this, you can follow this sort of rough checklist. So you will have a GA4 property that is linked to your business that is the container for all of your data. So you can quickly check that under admin, you go in and you can look at the property settings there. And you've also added one or more data streams. So again, if you go to the admin section, you can go to data collection and you can see the number of streams that you have added at present. Most of you will most likely just have the web data stream added. And then you would check that the Google tag has been properly implemented on your site and your app if you have one. And that essentially is just JavaScript that has been placed in the header of the website across all pages by your developer or using Google Tag Manager implementation, which I will talk about in a few slides. And also the enhanced measurement has been enabled to collect your standard events. So these are page view, which you can't switch off. That is an ultimate. And then you've got scroll depth, form submission, video views, those types of things as well. We can kind of talk about those more later. I've got a slide on enhanced measurement coming up. And then also to integrate Google services. So a lot of you will have Google Ads. You can also integrate Google Ads directly into GA4. It just means that you're sort of tying up tracking from that platform in a more solid way. And the same goes for Search Console. If you are, whether you're working on your SEO at sort of maintenance level or you have a big driver for that at the moment, having Search Console linked up to your GA4 will mean that you can access a lot of the sort of richer insights when it comes to organic referral traffic within GA4 rather than having to navigate away to Search Console. And you also have the option for third-party integrations as well. I would imagine a lot of you have or are using Meta to promote shows and events. So that is something that you can actually do to give you more reliable data. So that's done within Meta's business portfolio. Under events, you go to third-party integrations, but it's a super easy setup. You just follow all of the online guide essentially to get you all linked up. But yeah, once you've reviewed all of these areas and adjusted if needed, you can then review the verification of your GA4 property. So whether that's setting up new or you're just auditing, you can verify in two ways. The first being the real-time reports, which you can open up. You use the top left hand menu and real-time reports should be at the top there. Open that up, open your website in another tab, and then wait to see yourself appear in the location you're based as a new user and navigating the various pages. And you can also use debug view, which, if enabled, will allow you to monitor events and parameters that are sent from your site or app. But it is also important to note that it can take, especially if you've created a new GA4 property, it can take up to 48 hours to reflect in standard reports. So just kind of bear that in mind. That's why the real-time reports are so handy. And then on to implementation methods. So there's two methods. I've already mentioned native, so essentially placing that JavaScript on your site using a developer to do so. It is a super fast way to do that, but it is quite rigid and it's hard to maintain because you will need a developer if anything needs to change or if it's accidentally been removed from your site. Lots of things can kind of go wrong with it at times. So yeah, and you also need to kind of note with that, you will need to place the purchase event script on the site as well, as that's not an automatically set up event. And then the second option is Google Tag Manager. So that's usually my recommendation for getting anybody set up or even to migrate all of their current tracking into Google Tag Manager. It keeps things tidy. It also gives your marketing team full flexibility to update tags at any point and add new events if custom events are something that you want to do. And yeah, it offers better scalability as your marketing evolves as well. So just to sort of note, any attendees who are Peppered customers, just to say that you can add GTM in a few clicks. So in the control panel here, all you need to do is add your container ID and the scripts to this section here. No developer required for you guys. And this is just a kind of sneak peek at what a sort of like demo account that I've got set up would look like if you were using Google Tag Manager. So you have your GA4 events or your main GA4 configuration all filed away into relevant folders to keep things nice and tidy. But anytime I want to track a custom event, pop in here, add the different parameters, and it's live within a few seconds. And you can use debug mode to check that the events are firing pretty quickly as well. Just a quick teaser as well, we've got a webinar coming up on the 22nd of May that is all about Google Tag Manager. So if it is something you're interested in, mark your calendars or visit the Culture Suite website or their LinkedIn page for more details on that one, but that is coming soon. And probably will be quite useful for anybody wanting to tidy up their tracking. And then on to the good stuff, critical event tracking. So forget page views being the be all and end all. These are the most important events that you should be tracking. So purchase, the obvious one, that is your ultimate measure of success. Add to basket, that is your sort of high intent signals, and also will allow you to retarget if you're using any sort of advertising platform that allows you to re-engage people who have submitted an event like that. You also have checkout initiated. This one's really, really important in identifying any issues within the sort of basket to checkout process as well. You've also got scroll depth, so how engaged users are with your landing pages. Video views, so this one's really, really important because if you host trailers or teasers, this one is crucial to gauging interest. And also outbound links, so if you have ticket sales occurring offsite, this one's going to be really important to kind of link up any sort of campaigns that you're using to drive sales for that. But a pro tip would be to make sure that you've got enhanced measurement set up and or enabled rather, and customized. Don't just leave it on default. So to customize this, you want to head over to the admin section of GA4, so bottom left, and then select your data streams. Click on your web data stream, and then under enhanced measurement, you're then able to toggle on or off to customize. So you basically need to gauge the relevance of each of these standard events to your venue. So the standard events being page view, so that's automatically tracked with every page load, you can't switch that one off. Scroll, so this tracks where users scroll to 90% of a page. That one is actually super customizable. So instead of just tracking to 90% scroll, if you're using something like Tag Manager, you can set up a custom variation of this where you would switch the standard one off here. And you would, instead of having to 90%, you would have 25%, 50%, 75%, and 90%. That one's super, super easy to set up, and something that I will most likely be showing live on screen on the 22nd. You also have your outbound clicks, so that'll track any external sites where you're selling tickets. Just the click, not the actual revenue, just to say that. You've also got site search, so that tracks when users perform a search on your site. Video engagement, that will track the video start, progress, and completion as standard. And then you've got file downloads, so that's just generally any file on your site that is downloaded, and the same for form tracking. It tracks the start and submission of any forms on your site, but it doesn't differentiate between them if you've got multiple forms for different purposes. But you can create custom dimensions and metrics. So for example, the file download one being a super easy one, you can actually, like if your fundraising or business development manager has specific files or forms that they want to track, you can make that more granular and have the file name or the form name as a sort of tracker against submissions. The best method of doing this is obviously Tag Manager, just for the fact that it's super, super easy. And as I'd mentioned before about the scroll depth, having 25 to 50, 75%, etc. You can do the same for your video views as well. You can customize that. So essentially, if you create a custom event in Tag Manager to replace one of these, you need to remember to come in and toggle the standard one off, because it just kind of confuses things. And then navigating key GA4 reports. So the standard reports that you should know are under engagement, pages and screens, under acquisition, traffic sources, under advertising, attribution path, and under behaviour, events report. So firstly, the engagement and then hit pages and screens. Basically, this allows you to see which content resonates the most with your target audience. For example, which event or show landing pages are getting the most screen time versus the most purchases. You can even use, so you can see page and screen class just in the little drop down on this screenshot here. There's a little blue plus sign. So you can even break this down by demographics. So are more male or females engaging and purchasing tickets? Is there a specific device, a specific referral platform? You can pretty much filter on most sort of common questions that you would ask about performance on this. And the way you do that is add your little plus. So it gives you all of the kind of core information on views, active users, right through to revenue, which will be out of screenshot here. The next one that I am in every single day when I've got campaigns live is the acquisition and then traffic sources report. So this allows you to see where visitors are coming from, which of the sources are driving your highest volume of traffic versus ticket sales, how engaged people are. So you've got your engagement rate there as well. So you can kind of see on here, your highest engagement rate is actually that 87.33, which is your cross network. So that will most likely be some of your paid search elements fall under that as well. But you can compare that to the 70% of just purely paid search. Again, you can break this down by source medium. You would just use the little plus sign, a little blue plus sign there, and you would select source medium, so you can break that down. So under paid search, for example, if you use Bing and Google Ads, you'll be able to differentiate between the two and kind of compare engagement rates, volume of traffic, and the quality of traffic, who is actually, or how many are actually completing a ticket sale from that one. But yeah, so this report here should also trigger you, especially if you're using different ad platforms at the moment, to go to the advertising tab on the left-hand side and then visit the attribution paths report. So this is a super handy one. Shows typical paths of visitors, which are common paths that result in ticket sales, and which ones do not as well. This will help you assess the value of your paid versus organic channels at every stage of the purchase journey. It also usually makes it an easy conversation if you're a marketing sort of person and you're speaking to your finance team. One of the things I used to get asked quite a lot would be, why are we spending money on X channel if it doesn't drive direct conversions? So this is the report that you would then go and visit to say, we can see that early touch points, the majority are coming through, let's say for talking's sake, Facebook or Instagram, so a meta platform, because you're spending a lot on awareness and teaser content. And we can see that the majority are actually visiting the first time with that, but they're then completing a purchase either organically or via Google Ads, for example. The finance team usually focus on the one that you can attach conversions to directly. This then gives you the power to say, actually, that conversion most likely would not have happened without what we're doing here on Meta, for example. But yeah, it will show you on this sort of top part of the report, the early, mid, and late touch points. And then below that section, you can see this one here. So at the moment, we're just filtered on your primary channel group. But this essentially will allow you to view the attribution path, so the breakdown of the paths users are taking once they arrive on your site before they make a conversion. So you can see here, you've got common paths being 100% organic. So organic search, you've also got a paid search option there. And then you have, so even an organic ×3, so they've had to visit organically 3 times before a purchase has been made. And for that one, there's just under $10,000 in revenue attached to that journey. But yeah, it shows you the number of key events, so the number of interactions someone has taken on your site as the sort of path. So you've got organic there. There are almost 10,000 key events that have happened to generate $18,618 of revenue. And also the amount of revenue for each path. So this list usually goes on an insane amount of pages. You can have a lot of fun analysing this one, and I would definitely recommend after this you go and have a play around. It also shows you the number of days it took to achieve a key event, which is a purchase. And you can see on line 8 there for organic social, it takes on average 13.7 days to generate a ticket sale. And it also shows you the number of touch points per purchase as well. And then the last report is your events report. So this allows you to understand actions beyond the sort of basic clicks. It'll track user engagement by action. So for example, you can see the first time visitor or first_visit event. That's extremely useful in creating audiences that you can retarget in advertising platforms like Google Ads to drive revenue from first-time visitors that have not made a purchase on that first visit. But a couple of tips for navigating reports. So I always start on your default session default channel grouping. Just makes it a lot easier to kind of compare as you look through the standard reports. Just to see what has the biggest impact on revenue. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you can drill down by source medium if you need to find out which paid channel is working best for you. And when it comes to filtering, you can also filter for engaged sessions, so 90 seconds plus or 2+ page views or a specific conversion event as well for optimal insights. And also, did you know that you can add notes and annotations to GA4 standard reports? If you didn't, it is an extremely important and useful tool, or feature rather, especially when you've got a lot of different colleagues using GA4. It just means that you can add things. So let's say you have a problem with your website on a specific day, you can note that in so someone next year can look back and go, the reason we had terrible ticket sales that day, we were having issues with X, Y, or Z. You can also add sort of pre-sale and public on sale as sort of notes for X show. And also now that AI is starting to kind of be a little bit more commonly tested across accounts, you also have the Google generated annotations as well. So it might note things like, we were expecting to see under 100 sessions from, let's say, organic social, but we saw a spike of 33% on X day. You'll then be triggered to go and have a look to see why that was. What did you post that day? What was the link? And you can then add your notes so that you can share that for sort of future reference. Very much overlooked feature, but very, very handy. And then it should also be noted that used to be Google Academy. You can also use what is now called Skills Shop with Google. That is a very comprehensive training tool that will allow you to skill up on any feature within any of the Google platform. So next, I just want to touch on custom reports. I would imagine for the majority of you, standard reports are going to be fit for purpose for most things that you need to find out. But for anybody looking for ultimate flexibility in the reports, the Explore section, which again is found on the left-hand side, is the place for you. So you can go to Explore and Freeform reports to get a tailored analysis to answer really specific questions. So it might be which channel drives the most ticket purchases from mobile users aged 25 to 44. And you can then build a report that solves that specific problem. I mean, they're very visual, but yeah, they don't just look pretty. They're really, really useful. But you can also use templates, which are featured within this. So you have the cohort report, which explores behaviours and performance of groups of users that are linked by a common attribute like age, gender, location, device. And then you've got your funnel exploration reports, So that allows you to visualize the steps a user takes to complete a task, so like a purchase or a form submission. Really, really useful for identifying drop-off points caused by the web experience. So that is not just useful for your marketing team, it's also useful for your development team as well. You also have a segment overlap report, which shows you different user segments that relate to each other. So this is really useful in terms of identifying new audience segments that are going to meet more complex criteria. You also have the user exploration report, and that's going to examine more granularly which users make up segments that are identified as core customers or visitors. And it also allows you to look at individual user activities as well, should you need to. You've also got the path exploration report, which is essentially visualizing the various paths that users take when they interact with your site. So if you are sending a lot of traffic to a specific page, but not much is happening, it might be that they're getting distracted with other pages. This is the sort of report that you would use to find out where they're going and how you can bring them back to the action that you want them to take. And then you also lastly have the user lifetime report, which lets you access user behavior and the value of the value over the lifetime of the customer as well. But here's a quick example of a funnel report. And this you can use to optimize the user journey. So kind of if we set the scene a little bit, you might find that your campaigns for a particular event are driving exceptionally large volumes of traffic, but ticket sales are low. And you're trying to figure out where the drop-off is. You would use this funnel report to do that. So you need to define your starting point. Where do you want to track from? So this could be a landing page. So let's say for talking sake, it's Christmas time and you're running a Christmas Carol, which is a kind of popular production at that time of year. So you want to find out, once someone arrives on that page, what is the process once they try to make a ticket purchase, and if there are any points where you're seeing massive abandonment. So you analyze that sort of sequence. And yeah, so what you're looking for here is there a particular point between maybe using the calendar, selecting a seat, making it into the cart, filling out all their details, and then going on to their payment method. So you can add in all of these touch points. We've got a really basic one as the example here, but essentially from point A to point B, where are people abandoning? And that's the information that you would then pass on in terms of bottlenecks and drop-offs to your development team to resolve. And then lastly, most venues that I've worked with have a leadership team that never sets foot in GA4. Leadership teams want clarity, not chaos. So in order to consolidate the kind of most important data and insights, you might want to send them a link directly to the report that you're using. So you can customize your standard reports and save them. You would then be able to share either a PDF download into a Google or Excel sheet, or like I say, you can send that direct link and you would just use the little triangle with the little bubbles on it that is in the top right menu. Or you can create a specific dashboard, again, just to sort of consolidate maybe like monthly ticket sale trends, which campaigns generated the most engagement versus sales, new versus returning visitor trends. All of these can be pulled into a dashboard that again can be shared directly from within GA4. Simplicity is usually key. So yeah, if either of these two options are amenable to the leadership team, these are probably your easiest ones. Alternatively, though, you can use something called Looker Studio. So this was formerly Data Studio that you might have heard about in the past. But yeah, it can be super handy to share things with key stakeholders and absolutely your best friend for making data digestible. You do have complete flexibility to pull any data source, dimension, or metric into a really beautiful and very visual report. And you've also got the option with these to add text boxes underneath your charts and tables, so that you can kind of add additional insights. And again, this can be exported as a PDF, or you can share a live link to the digital version, which is especially handy if you can see on the example here in the top right, there's a little date selector. So yeah, if someone on your team needs to check in for monthly, month-to-date results, they can go in and grab that at any point. So yeah, they also have a really, really large library of templates as well. So you don't need to start from scratch with this. Things like Search Console, Google Ads, these all have templates that you can either adapt or just use them off the shelf as well. But I can say, hand on heart, this platform has saved me so much time throughout my career. If you find that reporting is a bit of a chore, definitely one to kind of have a look at. And it's free as well, which makes it even better. So yeah, that's pretty much us at the end now. So yeah, key takeaways, I think GA4 just isn't as scary a place once you break it down. A clean setup and smart event tracking is absolutely game-changing to get the most out of this platform. And the best advice is really to think like your audience, what actions matter the most to them, and then just create custom events and reports that track these actions. And you will find that you've got a much more informed decision-making process and data you can really trust. But yeah, just a final reminder, remember to attend the Google Tag Manager webinar on the 22nd of May, and that will help you level up even further. The custom tracking options are phenomenal with that platform. Thanks for listening. And yeah, ready for any questions that we've kind of got.
Thanks for that, Lynn. Yeah, we've got a few questions coming up at the moment. I'll just get to those in a moment. I just wanted to touch on the Looker Studio one, because that's something I've used a lot in the past. It's a really great visualization tool. I mean, GA4 does have some kind of visualization tools, but it's kind of like what you see is kind of what you get on there, and it's not that customizable in terms of visualization. So I think it's a really fantastic tool, and I wondered, I'm just going to pop a poll up to see whether people are interested in having or attending a webinar about Looker Studio, because it does require some setup to get that started. You mentioned some templates, but yeah, that would be a good thing to go into. So just before we do go into the questions, I'm also just going to share the presentation that Lynn just went through, so you hopefully should see that in the handout section in the top right hand corner. So if you want to just look back at some of the information that Lynn has talked about, you can download that presentation. But we'll go on to the first question that Christina mentioned about the notes section that you went through. She asked, how can you do that, take notes or drop notes into GA4?
So these are all within the standard report. So actually, what I might do, because there is within the, sorry, the wee pop up there. There is within, so it was Google Academy, I always forget unless I've got it in front of me what it's called now, but the skill shop, there is actually a guide that will talk you through with screenshots. So what I might do, if I've got the contact details of everybody, I will actually just send out the main things that I've talked about today. I will send out the guides as part of that, because it's super easy. Basically, you just need to go to edit mode, and then you can click on the date that you want to attach it to. But probably easier to kind of have that guide in front of you and see the screenshots and the buttons that you need to click. It's just a couple of clicks. You've got, I mean, a fairly flexible amount of space to add in your notes. So you can kind of write an essay. Wouldn't recommend it, but yeah, try and keep them as concise as possible. But yeah, it's not a hard task, but I will do that for each of the main points that are discussed.
And Christina asked again, how can she follow customers individually in GA4?
So you will need to go to the user exploration report. So that is within the explore section on the left-hand side. I think what I would probably need to give you a better answer is what in particular are you trying to track about specific individual users. There's a lot you can do with these reports. So a bit more context would probably be quite useful. what I can do is if I maybe share my email address, you can maybe provide that context out of the call, and I can maybe send you a wee guide on how to achieve whatever it is specifically that you're trying to find out with that.
Yeah, or I guess alternatively as well, if anyone does want some kind of personalized guidance, they can reach out to you directly on your website, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, context for that type of question is everything. But I'm more than happy to send you the details on that.
Yeah. And Christina again, of course, if anyone else has any questions, please pop them up. But Christina again, how do I know how many users accept the cookies? That's the cookie banner, clicking yes or no, or the kind of essential options on there.
So that you would need to set up a custom event for. Ideally, I would probably do that within Google Tag Manager, and that's actually one that I could probably do on screen next week as well. But again, if I'm going to be sharing information with you anyway via email, if I get that from Matt afterwards, I will pop in instructions on how to do that with Tag Manager. So yeah, it's not a terribly difficult thing to record. Essentially, you will go into Tag Manager, set up your custom event, so GA4 event, and then you're going to need to essentially find the accept cookies button, like the ID, have that in, and then add your trigger for button click, and it's a fairly quick one to set up.
Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, that we probably will cover that a bit in the GTM session. So that's in the 22nd of May. If anyone in this call hasn't kind of registered for that one, you can register on the Code Suite website in our events and webinar tab, because we have noticed that that session has quite few attendees or registrations compared to this session, and that may be because perhaps people aren't quite sure what the difference is between them or what the value of it is. So definitely worth attending that to see kind of what it's all about and getting more into the advanced details of event tracking in Google Tag Manager and GA4. But looking at the poll, it does sound like we probably do want to do a session on Looker Studio as well. So that's the kind of custom reporting that Google offers. And it doesn't just connect to GA4. You can actually pull in data from a wide range of sources. I've done it myself using stuff like Supermetrics, putting in social media data into Looker Studio. So it's not, while it is a Google platform, you can pull in data from a wide range of sources. So it's really useful for that. So keep an eye out for that. We obviously don't have a date for that yet, but it sounds like we will be planning a date for that in the near future. Probably shortly after the GTM session.
Yeah, it's dead handy, and I mean, it saved me so much time and sort of hassle from key stakeholders who are just looking for a simple month to date or year to date counter on something. You can share a digital version, and you can essentially give them the keys to the kingdom. They can go in, change the date to whatever they need, and grab that. If it's 11 p.m. at night, they've got it. It's great.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, Lynn, about kind of people reaching out to you. I don't know if you want to drop your email into the chat, just a way for people to reach out as we kind of wrap up this session. Just a final kind of mention from me as a wrap up. You'll see in the bottom left corner a pop up for a webinar feedback form. Would really appreciate if any of you would like to leave some feedback just about the session in general, but also just about what you might want to learn in future, whether it's about analytics or anything at all. We're at Code Suite, we're looking to put together a wide range of webinars for the year and onwards. But in particular with GA4, it is, and analytics in general, it is a particularly diverse topic, and as we mentioned, there are a wide range of metrics that you can measure, and some of those are measured in kind of quite different ways. So if there's something that you really want to learn about that we haven't covered in these kind of short sessions, please pop it in, and we will kind of look into considering setting up future sessions to cover something more specific about analytics, GA4, GTM, or any other analytics platform that you guys use. So do leave some feedback for us so we can kind of tailor future sessions to your needs. But I think that's it, unless there's any other questions or any closing thoughts you want to leave with us, Lynn.
No, just like I say, it's such a flexible platform in terms of kind of the questions that you can answer. So as I'd mentioned earlier, context is everything. If you have something that is really driving you nuts that you can't get the information you need, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to kind of help you get there. There's lots of guides and things that I can share. And failing that, if you want to go and explore on your own, the Skill Shop by Google is an amazing place to start. I don't think there's much that hasn't been covered in there. Really, really useful resource. Definitely something that you should have in your bookmarks.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Well, thank you very much for your time and insights today, Lynn. Really enjoyed that session. As I said, we'll be seeing Lynn again in a couple of weeks from now on the 22nd of May. It's also on a Thursday at a similar time. So yeah, if you haven't registered that, please do, because that will dig into a bit more detail in terms of kind of event tracking and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely check that out. But yeah, until then, I hope everyone has a great day, and thank you very much, Lynn. We'll see you again soon.
Perfect. Thank you.
Cool. Take care. Bye, everyone.